What's cracking, y'all? Your midnight movie this week is Silver Bullet from 1985. This is probably one of the best werewolf movies I think ever made. I'm always surprised when people haven't heard of this film. It is one of the best adaptations of a Stephen King story I think that we've ever had for film. I know that there's a lot of those of us that are fans of Stephen King and his work. The adaptions, can cut, several different ways. And I think this is a real gem. Moreover, much like the last film we reviewed, Monster Squad from 1987, this is a film that, again, I think because it did faithfully adapt as well as it could King's original novella, Silver Bullet, as much as it is a genuine, true, pure horror story, a pure werewolf story, it is also a film with tremendous heart. And I feel like it's a hard thing to do. One, I think as a filmmaker, it can be to straddle that line between genuine fright and a sense of a malevolent universe, but also stacking right on top of it a benevolent universe premise as well, which this movie has. Stars Corey Haim, young Corey Haim, who those of you who are, under the age of 40 or 50, Corey Haim was a really great young actor. I would say maybe genius level actor, just tremendously smart, tremendously talented. The dynamic nature of his work was really impressive. He plays young Marty in this film. Marty is just a typical, preteen age boy. I think he's maybe about 12 in this film. He uses a wheelchair. He doesn't have use of his legs. Another, again, rarity for this film is they give us this character of Marty, this young, heroic, really sort of adventurous, really optimistic kid who just happens to have a disability. And he does not allow that disability to really put any sort of damping on who he is. He's just himself. What's really cool, and the reason for the title of the movie, Silver Bullet, is that Marty doesn't just have any kind of wheelchair. He has something called the Silver Bullet, and it is a motorized gas-powered wheelchair. It's pretty badass. Again, this kid is so unique. His character is so unique. You can't help but love this kid. He basically just jets around his small town, just doing kid stuff. And part of his adventure for this film is there's a murder that occurs in the town, because of course it's a Stephen King film. You can't not have a murder in a small town, right? And again, as a kid, much like the Monster Squad kids, he's kind of clued into these concepts of supernatural beings and werewolves and all of that. And over time, he puts it together that these might not just be random murders that occur in his town. And nobody, of course, believes him, because why would boomer parents or boomer adults ever listen to a kid who genuinely has identified a problem, right? Well, his older sister, who's kind of dealing with her own stuff. She's a few years older than him, a teenager in her own right, wants to be with her friends and boys, but is sort of, has responsible for her brother Marty and has to take care of him, and it kind of dampens her ability to do as much as she'd like. She loves her brother, even though he could be a pest and he can be kind of a pain in the ass. She loves him, and I really appreciate that dynamic in their relationship. So you've got kind of a back and forth, I love you but you annoy me sort of relationship between Marty and his sister. Then you've got one of the most fun characters in the entire movie, played by... Okay, why would it not be on the first page? Why would you not list one of the biggest goddamn actors in your fucking movie on the first page? Oh, fuck me. Really? We're not going to put this guy on here? Gary Busey. I almost said Nick Nolte. They're the same people. Gary Busey plays sort of the drunk, but lovable drunk uncle to Marty. For whatever reason, Marty's father is really distant. He's almost like an NPC character in this movie. I'm not sure, they never quite explain it. He just maybe just an aloof father, as many can be. Well, the mother's brother, which is the sort of drunk but fun uncle of Gary Busey, she she's got a lot on her plate, trying to help and raise a son that has a disability. And she kind of resents the uncle who just kind of just blows into town, comes over whenever he feels like, and hangs out with Marty and plays with Marty. They play cards, they joke around. She kind of resents him for that. But he's still a positive force in Marty's life because he's more of a father to Marty than Marty's own father. So there's a bit of tension between the mother and the uncle. Again, the family dynamics in this film really feel real. They're not overwrought. They're not overly dramatic. They're not overly combative. They're just, you have enough love there. You have enough little frustration and annoyance at times. And it feels like a real family. Again, the attention to detail of character and of character dynamics in this movie is fantastic. As Marty sort of does his little investigations around town surrounding one murder after another, he determines that he has an idea of who this killer is, and not that it's just a killer, but that it could very well be a werewolf. I'm not going to spoil who it is, other than to say another unique aspect of this film, one of the few films I've ever seen where you actually get POV of the werewolf. You get POV and sort of a sense of the internal life of the killer, of the monster, which is pretty rare, but it's done beautifully. And that starts about halfway, maybe one whole third of the way towards the end of the film, which adds a layer to it. You don't have this two-dimensional villain going on, which is really, again, well done, incredibly well done. The other part of this film, like An American Werewolf in London and Monster Squad, this film has incredible practical effects. The werewolf itself and sort of the transformation work is incredibly well done. Again, there might maybe a few shots here and there that maybe don't age as well, but I don't think so. I think overall it's really, really solid. As the movie wears on, you start to see the uncle begin to believe Marty. There's some things that happen that it goes from being maybe the imagination of a young kid to, okay, I've got evidence that something really weird is going on here. Every single actor on the cast is solid. There's nobody overplaying or underplaying. Again, it's one of the best Stephen King adaptations. This is one of the most solid, I think, fun, action-y, adventure-y horror films ever made, which we don't seem to do anymore. We either do really, really heavy, which again, I'm not complaining. The contemporary horror that we have, I think, is incredibly creative and interesting. It's the only thing getting people to go to the goddamn movie theater anymore, so I'm for it. But we don't have, I think, as well-rounded of heroes. There seems to be a whole world of malevolence in most contemporary horror, right? Not in this movie. You have terrible things that happen. You have just terrible people. Some of the townspeople in this film are just POSs, complete POSs. So it's not as though it's just, Anytown, USA, where everybody's cool and everybody's nice and everybody's, having people over for lemonade and barbecues. It's not like that at all. You've got some really cool adults that are sort of fun, but maybe not believing what Marty has to say. And then you've got just, the POS adults that, we all know exist. Again, it lends an air of credibility and realism, but not hyper-realism to the film. The heart of this movie, let's continue to talk about Marty. There are moments in the film where you cannot help but love this kid. he really has a great heart on him. He's got a spirit in him, despite his situation. There are a couple of moments in the film where you do see him lamenting that he cannot, for example, like run around and play ball like the other boys. But again, he doesn't wallow in that for too long, because he's basically got a rocket-powered bullet of a wheelchair. He's got this cool-ass uncle that will do anything for him. He has a big sister that, while again she might get annoyed with him, loves him to death. It's a more benevolent universe around Marty himself, even though you have that malevolent sort of universe intruding in with this, this terrible creature, this terrible being, and these really bad things that happen to some of the townspeople. And I really like that balance. This is such a balanced film. You have as many shots and sequences in this film of Marty just tooling around town in the sunshine with a big smile on his face, greeting people, saying hello to neighbors, going on adventures by himself, as there are moments of dread and moments of, okay, the wolf is coming and it's going to come and get somebody. The deaths, the investigation, and how this whole mystery of the creature unfolds around the town, because obviously it's not just Marty knows what he was looking for. He knows he's looking for a wolf, but the other townspeople, the sheriff and others, don't necessarily know what they're looking for. They think it's just some psychopath, and they want to go after him. And it again, how the different characters sort of approach, investigate, and pursue this threat is really, it's unique to them. It's unique to their worldview, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This film absolutely works. I think that this movie should be up there with An American Werewolf in London. I wish Silver Bullet and The Monster Squad were better known. I feel like there's an opportunity for Gen Z and Gen Alpha to maybe plug into these films and give them the critical reappraisal that I think they absolutely deserve. If you were like me, you caught these movies on cable as a kid in the 90s. But if you didn't, you might not know that these movies exist at all. It's a horror movie with heart. It's got believable characters. It's not just dread. The threats are absolutely believable, but so is the heroism and the strength of character and the spirit of Marty and his sister and the uncle. It's just a beautiful, heartfelt, but spooky, scary film. It doesn't pull any punches with the violence. It's not overly violent, though. It's not a splatter fest, but you do believe the threat and you understand, okay, this is real. I caught this movie on YouTube. For those of you that have YouTube Premium, you can catch movies like Silver Bullet, The Monster Squad, The Last Man on Earth. There's a whole bunch of movies that you have available to you if you're a YouTube Premium member. I only discovered this about a month ago, but you'll notice a bunch of movies that I'm reviewing right now are from YouTube Premium, because why not? But yes, Silver Bullet. This is worth your time. You're gonna by the time this movie ends, you're gonna be so in love with Marty and his family. You're going to. It's one of the few really, I think, inspirational, if that makes sense. Again, it fills you with a sense of hope. While there are bad things that happen in the world, there are evil forces, evil people. Those evil forces are fundamentally weak, and it is ultimately good and the people that have courage that save the day. Behind every dark cloud is a silver lining, and I'm a big believer that it is, and it's true. It's always darkest before the dawn. And this film, I think, really gives you a fun adventure and an example of that. So if you know what's good for you, please check out Silver Bullet with Corey Haim and Gary Busey. It's just a fun movie. And movies should be fun, I think. Have you seen Silver Bullet? What do you think? Does it belong in the pantheon of great werewolf movies? Is it one of the better adaptations of a Stephen King story? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.